I'm sorry, y'all. I'm actually with Tomas on this one. I really do think Madison should settle this case. Welcome back. Happy Friday, y'all, or we shall say, should say, rather like the kids say, Happy Friday. Welcome, y'all. This is Fans of Beyond the Gates, the podcast. I'm your hostess, and let's go ahead and recap, review, and discuss Season 2, Episode 152. And of course, today is August 21st. Let's talk. We get to see a few people we hadn't seen in a hot minute. We get to see Mike. Y'all remember Mike, Bill's former co-worker. We also get to see Madison today. And the way it's looking, y'all, we're going to see Allison pretty soon, but we don't know. So let's go ahead and start with Bill's office. So Naomi is in Bill's office. She's sitting at his desk. And y'all know, that is all Tomas needs to see before he gets ready to turn up, right? He resents Naomi. Y'all, I'm sorry. I actually understand Tomas's position. Listen, some people could say, well, he knew when he signed on at that law firm that Bill's dream was always that Naomi and he would be a power team. Okay, I understand that. But she turned that down. And Bill began to nurture Tomas. He even said that Tomas was like the son he never had. So it's like, okay, I can understand why this man is like, you know what? Why are you always up here? What are you doing? Okay, you need to talk to me. You know, I am at least a junior partner. So she's in there, and in comes Caroline to give her some papers. And she tells Caroline she is a lifesaver. She couldn't have made it, y'all, these last few days without Caroline, seeing as her father is basically in the hospital. Well, they get to talking, whereupon we see Naomi thanking Caroline for being so loyal. But she also brings up the fact that, you know, when Chelsea talked to you, she was asking you if you had any suspicions that Haley was cheating on my dad. Y'all know how they say my dad. And you know what? Caroline says, you know, I really don't feel comfortable getting involved in family, drama and stuff. And Naomi says she understands that. But if you have any reason to believe Haley is cheating on her, on Bill, she would hope that she would share that with her. Y'all, Caroline says, I don't have any definite evidence, though. And Naomi's like, listen, all I can say is that if you ever feel like you do have real reasons to suspect this, that you will make the right decision and get involved and let me or Chelsea or even Bill know. And y'all, Caroline is looking very forlorn. Caroline, Bill just gave her, what was it, a Mercedes, right? A brand new Mercedes. She has been working for Bill for a very long time. She kept all his secrets when he was ripping and running on Danny, cheating all up and through. And so I don't foresee in the future, even if she knew Haley was cheating on Bill, if she saw it for herself, I don't think for a moment, y'all, Caroline would open her mouth, because Caroline's got it really good. She's got a great boss and a great job. Well, now let's go to Bill. Or rather, I should say, let's go to Tomas. So Tomas and Kat, y'all, are sitting at Uptowns, but not at the bar. They're sitting down at the table because they have just had a wonderful night. They let, us know. And, they're talking about, ooh, last night was so good. And what we did last night, girl. No, they didn't say it like that. And then Tomas gets a notification on his phone. Breakfast has not been delivered yet. And so he's like, oh my gosh, I gotta go. And Kat's like, well, we haven't even eaten yet. And he's like, I know, but I've got to take this. It's about work. So they kiss, and he promises he's gonna make it up to her. Where we see, y'all, Tomas go outside of Uptowns, and he calls Madison. By the way, Madison has flown back into town today because today is the 1-year anniversary of Chelsea's kidnapping incident with Allison. And so she came back into town early just to be an emotional support to her girlfriend, or I should say her fiance. And so she gets a call from Tomas, and Tomas tells her, oh, I was hoping you were back in town. And she's like, yeah, I basically just landed. What's going on? And he's like, can you come by Bill's office? And she's like, sure. Is everything okay? He's like, well, it is about your case. And she's like, when do you want me to come? He was like, as soon as you can. So then they take us back to Bill's office, where we see Caroline Caroline has walked out. We see now Madison is there. She's arrived. But Naomi has no idea why she's there. So they greet each other, get caught up in all of that. And then Naomi says to her, it was wonderful of you to stop by to get an update on your case, but you could have just texted me. And then she says, oh, that's not why I'm here. Tomas told me to come. Where y'all know Naomi gets a look of fire in her eyes. And that's when Tomas comes in. I want to play an audio clip of what happened, and then we will continue.
Oh, that's not why I stopped by. Tomas asked me to come. He did?
I did.
Mike Davis reached out to me. Thanks for coming so quickly, Madison.
Why would he do that when you're not even assigned to Madison's case?
Evidently, he's frustrated with how you've been handling things in Bill's absence.
More like he's a misogynistic jerk who wants to work with a man.
I'm not defending the guy. I'm just relaying a message. He insisted on meeting, and he's on the way.
Now? You think you can just bombard your way in here and act like...
Naomi, Mike said he's coming whether we like it or not. Do you want to keep arguing, or should we use this time to prepare for the hurricane that's about to walk through the door?
And y'all know it. So Mike comes in. By the way, is Mike on y'all, all these people on GLP-1s. And listen, no shade to those of you listening who are on the GLP-1s. Although I will say, I think come in about 2 to 5 years, people are going to regret being on those things. It's no different than what happened with the Fin back in the 90s. But I digress. But hey, do you, boo, right? So I think Mike has lost a considerable amount of weight. So he comes in, y'all, Mike is just as nasty as ever. And he says that since Bill has been in the hospital, y'all, Naomi hadn't been doing her job. He's like, we hadn't finished the deposition. He names other things, legal things that were supposed to be done by now, and she hasn't done them. And so, y'all, Tomas is sitting there nodding his head, and Naomi's looking at him like, so in essence, Mike says he is there because, listen, my client is ready to move on. I'm here to suggest a settlement. Naomi's like, absolutely not, y'all. How come Madison is caught in the middle? She's looking at Tomas because Tomas is like, oh, well, let us hear what you have to say. And Naomi's like, she basically, shut your mouth. You ain't got nothing to do with this. So Mike he says, listen, Madison, think about all the stress this is causing her and all of that. And Madison's like, yeah, I have been really stressed, y'all know. Madison's scared. And Naomi is like, you know what? We are not going to settle. Where Tomas says, you know what? I think we should at least consider it. And he says to him, okay, Tomas, try to talk to her. He's talking about Naomi. Try to talk to her and get her to basically see some common sense. And he says to him, basically, you get back to me and don't take too long. When he walks out, y'all, Naomi lays into Tomas, how dare you undermine me in front of Mike? And he's like, what? And he's like, Mike is just trying to exploit my dad. She says, rather, Mike is just trying to exploit my dad's illness, which is exactly what he's doing. But, Tomas says, listen, I thought it was advantageous for us basically to keep all of our options on the table and to at least hear what the man had to say. So, y'all, we later see Madison and Naomi going to the hospital, okay? Ashley brings Naomi up to speed with what's going on with her father, but also lets Madison know that Dr. Wilkes, who is Bill's heart doctor, is wanting to, basically compare notes with her and see if they can go ahead and release Bill from the hospital. So Madison leaves, and we see Naomi going into Bill's office where she checks on him, and then she tells him what happened at the office. And y'all, Bill is ticked. He's like, Tomas did what? We are not settling. And she goes on, and he says to her, you don't worry about Tomas. I'll handle him. So we later see Tomas coming. Y'all, while Bill was waiting on Tomas, he was Bill was just like getting redder and redder. Y'all know Timon is so handsome. So anyway, and no, I'm not just saying that because my man looks very similar, but I'm just simply saying the man is handsome. So anyway, he comes in there, and y'all, Tomas scared. He already know you fencing to get ripped a new one. And Bill lets him know in no uncertain terms, stop antagonizing my daughter. You are not on Madison's case. You ain't got nothing to do with Madison's case. You got enough cases to keep yourself busy. By the way, Mike did tell Tomas, I got to say this, y'all, because I'm like, if they go in this direction, meaning the writers, this right here will be good. Mike did tell Tomas, if you ever get tired of playing games up over here, come to my law firm. So Bill rips him a new one, like I was saying, and tells him, you stay in your lane and you let Naomi do what she's going to do. And Tomas is like, basically, in essence, okay. Y'all, I'm hoping that they will have Mike steal Tomas, or Tomas just go to work for Mike. And I'm going to tell you something. If that were to happen, this right here would be some good TV, okay? Naomi and Bill up against Mike and Tomas, which would then put a rift between Naomi and Kat, because Kat claims, child, to love Tomas. Y'all know Cat and Isaiah, Cat and Isaiah, Cat and Isaiah. Y'all, those are the two I want together. Y'all know I was rallying for her to at least sleep with Jacob because, truth be told, Colby Nixon and Jairi Harges, they do have chemistry. And I know she's married and all that. I just mean on screen together, they really had chemistry. And it was like, oh my gosh, kind of like Danny, Carla Mosley, and Sean Freeman. They have chemistry too. And so anyway, so we shall see, guys, what happens there. But Tomas, you know what? It's like Tomas is getting it every which way. He's getting it with Naomi. He's getting it with Bill. Bill is now telling him, stay in your lane, leave my daughter alone. This, I think, will push Tomas over the edge. He was already trying to find a new job. Remember that, y'all? Before Bill tore up his resignation and said, no, you're going to stay right here. But remember, Bill did tell Tomas he saw him as a son he never had. And yet, he didn't make it plain that he should be the one in charge in his illness, not Naomi. Well, let's stay with Bill. Well, y'all, Haley came in there and she was all kissing on him. He's like, oh, so they let you back in. And I knew my talk with, the chief of staff would work. And she's like, actually, it did, but they did give us stipulations. He's like, what? I should have just skipped over top of the chief of staff and went right to the board. Vernon was just in here the other day. And Haley was like, no. They told me that if we get caught being too close again, they're going to permanently ban me from Garland Memorial, y'all. So Bill is like, I am waiting on Dr. Wilkes to come and give me my I need to get out of here. And then comes Ashley to check on Bill. Y'all, Haley is being nasty to Ashley. You better do your job, all that kind of stuff. And y'all, was wondering, when is Dr. Wilkes going to come to see about Bill to see if he can leave the hospital? But y'all, how come Haley is gassing Bill up like it ain't nobody's business? When he's irritated saying, they just keeping me here for nothing. I feel fine. She's like, that's right. They're wasting your time. And he tells her finally, I'm straining my neck trying to look at my tablet. Would you do me a favor and get me my laptop? And she says, your wish is my command. Well, when she goes out, she's getting a call from Disguise Boutique, which we know is Randy, right? I think that's what it says on there. And so, y'all, she jabs Ashley one more time. Where's Dr. Wilkes? And Ashley's like, he's with the patient. And she says, you better basically get him or else, I'm going to have you written up. Y'all know Haley is going scorched earth on Ashley. And Ashley can't say nothing because she's the one who's at work, not Haley. Well, y'all, Haley goes into the hall and she calls Randy. And she's like, I need to meet. And he's like, I'm busy. Because right now, Randy is following Heather. And she's like, basically, get out of it and meet me up at the atrium. Y'all know where they have Kathleen fix their little coffee shop. So let's go to where Randy was. So Andre and Danny, y'all, are at Orphe Jeans. And Danny's on her phone, and Andre is still looking quite nervous. And then they talk about their night, kind of like Kat and Tomas. Ooh, last night was so good. What I did to you last night. You showed me some new stuff last night, all that kind of mess. And y'all, listen, Danny can still tell that things just still aren't quite right between her and Andre. She and Andre, rather. And so then we see Randy, Heather come in. And it was Danny who sees her, and she's like, hey, come on over. And then here comes this man in all black with a baseball cap pulled all the way down almost to his nose. Y'all, it's Randy. Randy goes in a booth, he's following Heather. And so, y'all, when Andre turns around and sees a woman that Danny is talking to is Heather, I have to say, Sean Freeman did a really good job. The look of fear on his face was just crazy, y'all. So he is so nervous, and Heather says, oh, well, yes, thank you for offering me a seat. And she gets to talking about them, and he's like, well, how do you two know each other? And Danny, you didn't mention that you know Heather, and so on and so forth. And so they talk, and finally Heather leaves. She gets something to go. And y'all, when I tell y'all, Andre is about to explode with nervousness. And so he says he's going to go. He and Danny go over their day. What do you got to do? What am I got to do? And she does tell him about today being the 1-year anniversary of this mess with old girl. And so he kisses her and he says, I love you. He said it like he wasn't going to be able to see her again. How come we then see, y'all know it, right? Andre rolling up to Heather's hotel. Now I want to play the audio of that because it was, you know what? No, I need to hurry up because I've got stuff to do today. It is Friday after all, and I've got to run errands for the weekend. And so anyway, y'all, basically, she's like, I knew you would come. And y'all, Heather is sick. Heather is determined. But she tells Andre is like, so you've been following me? And she's like, no. And he was like, well, how did you know I was at Orphagene's? And she's like, it was a divine intervention type thing, or a divine orchestration, she tells him. I'm not following you. Y'all, Heather is following him. And so anyway, and so he's like, okay. And she's like, oh, Danny's just delightful, blah, blah, blah. And then he asks her the same question. How do you know her? How many times have you talked to her? All those things. And y'all, how come Heather is touching all over Andre? Andre is trying to resist, girl. And then he says to her, I can't. And he's like, Heather, promise me as a friend that you will not do anything to Danny, that you'll leave Danny alone, that you'll never talk to her again. And this jars Heather into reality. She says to him, you really love her, don't you? And he's like, I do. Y'all, Andre is even scared of Heather. And so she's like, okay, I'll play ball, but you got to do something for me. And you know what it is. And he's looking, and then he folds his arms up like a petulant child, like, I ain't going to do it. And she was like, she's waiting, like, right, you going to do it now? It seemed to me, I think she was talking about something sexual, like, basically, screw me, and I'll leave her alone, right? Y'all, she says, okay, you know, and so he's getting ready to leave. Thank you, Heather. I love my wife. I can't. And Heather says, you better think about it, though. And he stops dead in his tracks. And she walks up behind him, and she's touching all over him. Y'all, this is the craziest thing to me. Are we not seeing the exact stuff that went on with his uncle? Crazy ex comes into town. Crazy ex starts following his wife. Crazy ex lets you know she wants you to sleep with her, or else she's going to tell it. You say you're not going to sleep with her, and she lets you know you better or else. I'm like, if this is not, it's like Andre. Andre even says to Heather at one point, if you came into town to blow up my marriage, you can save it because I'll run right to Danny and I'll tell her everything. And I'm like, why doesn't he tell her everything anyway? I told y'all, the thing that's going to make me turn against Andre is that he knows Heather is dangerous. Yes, Leslie is crazy and stuff like that, but Heather is a mobster, right? And he knows this, and we don't even know all the stuff he knows at this point. Because remember, we're still fairly new into this Heather Andre storyline. So we don't know exactly, you know, other than sex, what else? I mean, was he aware that she was in the impaler? Did he have something to do with it? And so he knows this. And for him to keep this a secret, knowing that Danny is the daughter of the esteemed, illustrious senator and the famed singer, for him to put her in danger by keeping her in the dark is just foul to me. I'm like, you know what? That right there is diabolical. And he was a witness to what happened with his uncle. He advised Ted many a times, why didn't you just tell Nicole? Now here he is about to he is doing the exact same thing. Well, y'all, Heather, when Andre leaves, he acts, when he leaves, he closes the door and he turns around and he makes this motion like he wants to choke the door, right? I'm like, y'all don't tell me Andre gonna kill him. Y'all, all that needs to happen is for Leslie, who still lives up at the Bowman, to see Andre leaving that woman's room. And y'all already know. Y'all already know. So I had thought initially that what would break Andre and Danny up was the fact that he would find out about Bill. I think, especially if Leslie sees him coming out that girl's room, that it's going to be Andre that breaks them up. And you know what? He may do it as a way to protect Danny. Or they're going to find out about him first, and Danny won't ever even have to say anything about what happened between, she and Bill. It's just crazy the way this is playing out. So anyway, so that was interesting. Haley meets with Randy at Caffeine Fix at the Atrium, and y'all know they're talking about the plot. Let me just tell you this. Have you seen one conversation between these two about the plot on Bill? Yes? Well, then you saw this one too, so I'm not even recapping it, okay? Because I'm telling you, they were saying the exact same thing they've said for the past, almost a year? Okay. Well, y'all, Chelsea, okay? So Chelsea's at home in bed. Kat is now waiting on Chelsea to meet her at Uptowns for breakfast since Tomas had to leave and go to work. And she's dreaming. And then she feels someone touch her shoulder and she screams, ah! And it's Madison. And Madison's like, oh, I'm so sorry. And so they kiss and all this. And you know what? Chelsea says, you know what? I'm not going to let Allison get to me. I'm just going to go about this day. And, basically, I'm just going to power through. And so she winds up meeting Kat up at Uptowns. But y'all, how come Chelsea gets a call from an unknown number? And when she answers it, hello? 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 The person says nothing and then they hang up. This sets her to spiraling. And eventually she says, basically as Kat is talking about business, she can tell something's going on. And so she says to her, today is that 1-year anniversary. And Kat's like, I know, and I didn't want to say anything because I didn't know how you were feeling. So they talk over it, and whereupon her phone rings again. This time Kat gets her phone. Who is this? I can hear you breathing. Hello? And then the person hangs up again. So y'all, it definitely does appear that this is Allison. Well, y'all, I wanted to remind y'all that the lady who plays Madison, I forget her name in the moment. I think it's Kenja. She has a new music video out. Have any of you guys seen it? She is a singer. So you can check out her music video on YouTube. Before I give you guys my final thoughts, I wanted to just look over my notes. Yeah, that's pretty much the long and short of today's episode. Now, I will tell y'all, well, you know how they show us, this is what's coming up next on Beyond the Gates. For next week, we see Billy is at the hospital because guess what? Randy and Haley are up at Uptowns, but not at the bar, sitting at a table, and Bill is looking in through the window, and he sees Haley put her hand on Randy's hand, and y'all, Bill is getting furious. So it's like before Haley is even going to be able to get him to St. Bart's to finish the job, so to speak, Bill is going to suspect that these two are having an affair, and he's going to blow up the marriage first. We also, of course, see Andre and Heather, and it does appear, y'all, that Andre is going to be providing services, if you know what I mean, to Heather. This is going to be so messed up, y'all, if Andre doesn't just go. It's like he's already basically told Jacob that there's some things going on. Why doesn't he just go to the police? But I know that wouldn't make the soap interesting if he just went to the police. Like I've been saying forever about Ted, just go get a restraining order, right? Leslie is crazy. She's not going to leave you alone. So just go get a restraining order. Well, guys, I will tell you that I think we're getting ready to go into another sweep season. And so hopefully for us, for those of us, because I know it's not all of y'all, but for those of us who've been wanting more drama, hopefully they're going to give it to us during this next sweeps season. Now I say hopefully because not this last sweeps, but the sweeps before last, remember I was like, oh my gosh, I just can't wait. And then that was like the most boring sweeps. It's like, what is going on? But there are there are 4 sweeps a year. And I will tell you that some, I can remember a time when they were all important, but there are some out of that 4 that are more important than the others, and so who knows. But I am hoping, guys, that as we get ready to go in, that they're going to give us tons and tons of drama. What I want to see is the Bill storyline wrapped up. I'm hoping the Andre Heather thing, I know that this is going to be a storyline that they basically drag out, guys, because it's not just about Heather and Andre. It's also about Danny. It's about Joey. And so we have so many of our other characters involved with these people that whatever goes down between Andre and Heather is going to affect so many other people on our soap, right? So there you have it, guys. Thanks for joining me. And thank you guys so much for the thumbs up. I'll be back with you guys next week. Let us know about your viewer experience below. Bye, guys.